Welcome everyone. We're back with another episode of Week 2 AIM Sports Betting.
Yes, welcome back everybody that follows us and listens to us. Thursday has passed us and Sunday is upon us.
And boy, was it a Thursday, man.
Oh, it was a good Thursday and a bad Thursday.
Oh, God. Well, for those who kept up with our first episode, we called, both Ulner and I like to keep Thursday Night Football records separate from Sunday Night Football, due in part because, it's Thursday Night Football. Prime time means different things for different teams, but also some people have shorter weeks.
Yes.
So, Miami lost. Now, it was a tough loss, right?
Yeah.
Now, we'll get the spreads out of the way because there's some more important matters with Miami right now. So I called myself minus 2.5 for Miami. That obviously wasn't the case.
Yes.
Ulner.
I took plus 2.5 Buffalo.
And it hit.
And it hit. And they came on and won too.
And there you go.
What, 20 points?
They did.
Yeah. Just erupted them.
Now that comes on the heels
of Tua being injured. The loss of Tua.
It was tough. Now, for those who watched Miami's first game against Jacksonville, they went down in the first half, and Tua, Tyreek, they all kind of marched back and won the game. To be honest, I was expecting something similar like that.
Yeah, it was exactly the same way. Down the exact points by 14. They had the trend going the same way. It's like a repeat of week 1.
Yeah.
And then everything went to shambles.
It did. I mean, I think Tua made a smart play by, doing a play action, try to run up the ball, but I think they maybe lost sight of it and went head first into DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah, and that's it. And it just, as a quarterback, you want to be protected. You also want to be safe.
Yeah.
But you should also know, slide with your feet first.
Slide with your feet first. We know this has to be quarterback 101.
Yeah, 101. Like, you don't want to get injured, especially you've already had 2 concussions.
Yeah.
This is your third one.
One of which was against Buffalo itself.
Exactly. And now you have the media and everybody speculating that Tua should retire because concussions is a big deal. It's not a small injury. It's a long-term effect.
It is.
To have 3 at such a young age, a 4th one could just erupt.
It could be a problem, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, CTE.
Exactly.
Early onset CTE.
And also the fact that if he does come back, having 3 concussions, you'll be afraid to run the football.
Yeah. So you're a liability.
Now, does the team change their game plan? Do they go on and say we're going to run first instead of throw first because we want to protect our quarterback from getting injured?
Yeah.
And that's not what Tua plays. Tua is an all-around player who loves to throw, run, and everything. Yeah. So it's a big loss for them, but they're in a tough position.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, football will continue to be football. Fantasy continue to be fantasy. Bets will continue to be made. But before we get into it, Ulner, let me ask you point blank. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the question around whether he should retire. What do you think? Do you think he should take his millions and call it?
I feel it depends. I feel like he's going to come out there. Depends how long he's injured for. If he goes and doctors say, hey, listen to no more, I guess he doesn't have a choice.
All right.
And I feel like if the doctors go, hey, listen, it's up to you, I think he takes one more shot at it.
Right.
But now coming back, as I said previously, right, how is he going to play? He's not going to be the same.
No, I don't think he's going to be the
same.
Right?
Will the team have to adjust their strategy of run-first football to protect the quarterback from throwing? But then again, just because you go run first doesn't mean your quarterback will not get injured or hit or hurt.
Exactly.
Right? If it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. But it just changes the way of what Miami football is.
Exactly.
And now with that being said, if he does come back and go run first, what does Miami have with all these wide receivers?
Exactly. They put a lot of effort and energy and money to land Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Like you've built a bit of a receiving core around you for the notion that you have someone's arm like Tua to come in and throw. And I agree with your point. Like, what do you do that you spent all these time resource training to build this wide receiver core and nobody to throw?
Exactly. To throw to them. Yeah, exactly. Right.
So I think it becomes a big question. I mean, I personally think at this point health comes first, right?
For sure.
I'm team retire now. This is not 1, not 2, but your 3rd concussion at such a young age. Obviously we know the detriments of CTE, so it's one of those things that I'd probably say, hey, you know what? Let's probably call it. Which brings us to the next question is, from a perspective of Miami Dolphins, if you were the owner / president / GM of the day, would you, in this case, assuming Tua was, had to retire.
Okay.
Would you bring in a new quarterback right, that can maybe makeshift and fit and throw some like decent bombs to Tyreek Hill, or would you now start to kind of cut your losses and say, all right, let me ship out Tyreek Hill, let me ship out Ray Mostert, let me ship out Jalen Waddle, and now let me start rebuilding ground up?
I feel more so. I feel like they're gonna bring somebody in. So as you see, last year, wide receiver position was like one of the highest paid positions.
Yeah.
The running back game had no game whatsoever.
No.
Wasn't talked about, wasn't mentioned, and then somehow this year the running backs are getting paid the most now.
Yeah.
Because the way the game has changed.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks have now been more mobile. They've been running around. You get young quarterbacks, but then you also have quarterbacks who also have been veterans for a couple of years as backups and shown out. Like look at Dobbs, for example.
Yeah.
Dobbs came out, wasn't really a well-known quarterback, played in the NFL for a few seasons, and all of a sudden erupted, made a name for himself, and now he's playing in San Francisco with the team where Super Bowl caliber team and he can win. I feel they just need a veteran quarterback where quarterbacks are getting paid. Like Dak Prescott got paid, sure.
Yeah.
But they have a backup in Trey Lance.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's other quarterbacks who were starters in the NFL who have the poise and the energy and the caliber to match an arm of Tua and be able to make plays, but it won't be as expensive.
Right.
And I feel like Tua could also still be there and mentor these young quarterbacks to play the game. And so I feel investing in such wide receivers, your running back, spending a lot of money, I feel to blow it up defeats the purpose of why you started.
Yeah.
I feel they need to go get a veteran quarterback, maybe take a first round draft pick loss.
Yeah.
That's the best and worst case scenario.
Exactly.
A first round pick doesn't do anything to you, but he gets you a quarterback where your wide receivers are happy.
Yeah.
Your running backs are happy. The team is happy and you're able to play Miami style football. So for me, I say they go get a quarterback. They go get somebody. We just don't know who they're gonna get.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time and if they're willing to give it up.
And I think that's important. I mean, you got to have a quarterback, and I think that makes sense, right? Like you built such a big following around you. Why would you blow it up, right? Because Tyreek Hill, like, arguably still one of the fastest players
100%.
in the NFL, right? Like he's super coveted, right? Obviously, we saw the damage he did with KC, right? When somebody's actually throwing him long bombs like that. So I think you're right. I think you got to find someone who, and I think we were talking about this earlier, the ability to find someone who potentially is a little bit cheaper on the market right now, maybe a second string, like a backup quarterback, but has huge upside, right?
Exactly.
Like a Joshua Dobbs, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be super important, and I do agree with you, man. I think it's going to be important that Miami kind of sticks to their guns.
Yeah.
I think they keep Tua post-injury, but they don't put him as a player, but almost like a quarterback coach or a quarterback consultant of some sort.
Exactly, yeah. Like a quarterback mentor.
Like you kind of have that veteranship to take over.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's important. So, hopefully, we're all hoping here at AIM Sports for speedy recovery for Tua, and obviously Miami Dolphins organization is going to be very important. But as we continue into week 2, as we mentioned, football does carry on.
Yes.
So, we're going to get right into it. But before we do that, we're going to quickly speak onto our daily fantasy lineup on how we did in that Miami and Buffalo game.
So as we said last week or on our last podcast, we were trying to reach a century mark. We were nowhere near the century mark.
Not on this one, no.
Not on this one. We took Josh Allen, who thought would run the ball a lot, create plays, end up with 9.76 points.
Yep.
It was a James Cook show.
It was.
And we didn't see it. We didn't see it coming. Josh Allen wasn't a really good pick. But then again, we would have taken Tua. He would have got injured.
Either way, this particular fantasy lineup, it was just for Thursday night football.
Just for Thursday. So both quarterbacks played not their best caliber. One got injured, so we'll take it.
We got the better of the two.
I believe so,
We got the better of the two.
And then we had running back. Running back, yes, you had James Cook, who lit up the game.
Yep.
3 touchdowns, had the most points. But then Etienne came, and he also ran the football. He scored a touchdown, too, producing, 29.5 points?
Yep.
That was beautiful. That was good.
That was solid, yeah.
Between him and Cook, sure, Cook was number 1, but we picked a good...
We picked a solid running back, yeah.
And then our wide receiver was just...
And, I mean, to be fair, we picked Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is arguably the top 3 offensive, round pick in fantasy, right? If it wasn't C-Mac, it was Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And so we picked Tyreek Hill, obviously, just on a sheer notion that he had an externally motivated police stop last week, and he was able to drop 130 yards and a touchdown.
It's like he had superpowers.
He did.
Marshawn Lynch said that in an interview. He said once he got some superpowers.
He did.
So we believed him.
We believed him. We thought maybe he'd come back a little bit stronger this time. Unfortunately, he was only able to pick up 6.6 points, which leads us to our tight end position. We had Kincaid, Josh Allen's one of his top targets as tight end. He was able to only pick up 7.3 points.
At the tight end position, I don't feel Miami tight end did anything.
No.
So at the end of the day, it was just given to take Kincaid, so that was a good pick too.
Yeah, we got the better of the two on that.
Yeah, we did. And then aside from going against spreads, we had Miami feeling to win the game. We took Miami defense, and that didn't benefit us at all.
No, we saw how that game ended. Obviously, once again, as a result of the momentum of losing Tua after the second half, they were already down at half. But that was a nail in the coffin. I think you knew it, I knew it, a lot of people watching knew it. That was it. And I think from a momentum perspective, nothing was working. Defense was taking all the grunt, and they were just getting lit up.
Yeah, they were just
And I think in that you had someone like Bass, capitalize.
Exactly.
And the kicker came in and did what kickers do. So he was able to pick up a healthy 7 points.
Hell yeah.
So
a really good 7 points over against Saunders too.
Yeah.
Who had a big game for Miami last week when they were down to Jacksonville, had a game-winning kick. But this week I just felt like staying at home. Miami wasn't as aggressive, hence also losing 2 at the end of the quarter. But they just weren't really aggressive and didn't give them the opportunity to make any plays. And we took the better kicker. And it gave us an overall points of 62.16 points.
Yeah, which, based on just that daily fantasy for Thursday Night Football, gave us roughly about 10.4 points per position, which arguably isn't too bad, but it could be better.
100%.
Right? 10.4 is great for a kicker, but it's pretty horrendous for a running back or a wide receiver or a quarterback. So our goal, of course, we know it's a little bit limited. We only have 6 positions for our Thursday Night Football pickups, but we still want to get you close to the century mark as close as possible. But onwards and upwards, so we'll continue moving forward, and we'll kind of talk about our fantasy lineup for the week, which has more than 6 positions. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But as we move past Thursday Night Football, we're looking into the big game day, which is Sunday.
Yep.
And we have quite a few games that we share with you from our last episode about what were some interesting games. But we officially have our 3 Game of the Weeks this week. And Ulner and I are poised for and motivated for a big bounce back after not only picking the same calls last week, but also going 0-3 last week. You know what? We take our losses to the chin. We understand it. We learn from it, and we move forward. There's no BS. We continue and try to improve. So, without further ado, Ulner, I'll throw it to you for our first Game of the Week, what the spread is from Vegas, and what your call is, my man.
All right, so our first game of the week, we got the New Orleans Saints at the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott just signed his contract last week. Highest paid quarterback. You got New Orleans Saints who've come off a big win, spanked up Carolina division game, coming into Dallas, America's team, and Dallas is favored by -6. 6 points is a touchdown without an extra point. To see the line by 6 is kind of throws me off. Dallas played a hell of a game against Cleveland, destroyed them, while New Orleans destroyed them. Both teams destroyed their opponents. Why is the game only 6? It's a tough one. And Dallas usually always plays a really good game, I feel, aside from stats-wise. Just by watching, and the week after, they just kind of forget how to play. Or are kind of stuck because they want to try new things. And then you have Derek Carr on the other side, who loves to play as an underdog. As an underdog, he just comes out and he just throws the football. He's poised to play. He's having fun out there. He's not really, he doesn't feel any pressure on him. As a favorite, he feels pressured a lot. The Saints team has, I feel like they're just here to poise and nitpick Dallas Cowboys. Me personally, my pick I'll take for that game is the New Orleans Saints +6. I feel this will be a high-scoring game. I feel both teams will score touchdowns. I feel this game will end in a field goal. I feel it comes down to the last possession, tie game. Whoever takes the kick wins the game. It's going to come down to the last 2 minutes of the game, who has a better defense, who wants to step it up. But my pick, for game of the week number 1, New Orleans Saints versus Dallas Cowboys is New Orleans Saints +6.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably thinking about it, and obviously you know me, I'm a Saints fan, so I'm trying not to be biased here. But with this call, I'm gonna roll with you on this one.
All right.
And I agree. I think Saints are gonna be +6. Look, it's an NFC matchup, right? Both different divisions, but both NFC teams.
Yes.
Historically, we saw the betting lines start off and open at -6.5. It went down to even at one point. It went back up to -6.5. It went back down to even. Then it went back up to 6.5, and now currently sits at 6.
Yeah.
So a lot of movement when it comes to people's kind of betting activities, what they're thinking. It could literally go either way, and people are anticipating to be a touchdown game. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a touchdown. I think it's going to be a field goal game. Now, the good news here is, Derek Carr, like you said, he's having fun. He's playing. And I think just by having that ability to throw the ball, kind of be versatile with it, he will be able to now, spread the defense a little bit.
Yeah.
Keep Dallas's defense guessing a little on edge. We know Dak Prescott, and he plays well at home. Zeke is making a level of resurgence that we saw from OG Zeke back at Dallas. So I do anticipate to be hardcore football. I do anticipate it to be a lot of bumps and bruises. I do agree both teams will be scoring touchdowns in the game. So that's almost like a side bet for those who are listening. But the good news is historically, Saints being underdogs in their matchup, Derek Carr is actually above 500 against the spread.
Yes.
Which is actually very favorable in this case. So more specifically, Derek Carr as a quarterback is 53, 46, and 1 against the spread when he is a underdog. When he's a favorite, he has a below 500 record.
It's like he forgets how to play football with his favorite.
Exactly. And so now I think coming back from, they were 3.5 point favorites against the Panthers, and they moved to 6-point underdogs against the Cowboys. I mean, the fact that they demolished the Panthers last week, and then to be an underdog this week, I think maybe analytically or statistically, Vegas is looking at them and saying, hey, you know what, this is what it's going to be. But I think New Orleans has more to offer this particular year, and I think it's going to be a close game. So I'm going to roll with you, and I agree. And I want to add this to our tally, and hopefully it changes.
Getting the W calling for this one, the first one?
Yep. We are calling New Orleans at +6.
All right. Let's go New Orleans Saints.
That's it.
Let's go +6.
All right.
And then our next game of the week we have, which is, I think, the biggest game out of all three we have.
Yeah.
A game that's going to have a lot of viewership.
Yeah.
A lot of popcorn for this game. A lot of popcorn for this game.
Lots of popcorn.
We got the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
At the Kansas City Chiefs.
We decided to go big 3 games.
We did. But I think this is the biggest out of all of them.
Oh, agreed.
Even across the board. This
Agreed.
whole schedule, the whole week, I think this is one of the biggest games.
Hands down.
Kansas City's favored by -6.
Yeah.
This game is interesting. -6 is a weird spread for me. Again, same as the first game we had.
Yeah.
Which was 6. Cincinnati got not destroyed, but they couldn't keep up with New England Patriots, who beat them last week. Kansas City came out and just ran over Baltimore. Showed that they're still here. They're here to three-peat. In my words, I said never bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's a little different because Joe Burrow is 3-1 against the spread against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
3-1, and in all 4 games that they faced against each other, all 4 games have been decided within 3 points or less. And so 6, I feel, is a lot listening to that stat.
Yeah.
Yes, you have the Swifties and Travis Kelce and everyone sitting in there watching the game. You also have Jamar Chase, who also ended off contract extension. I feel he's also pissed. They're going to be poised to show out that he deserves a bag. And what better way and what better place, what better game to do it than against Kansas City.
Yeah.
So for this game, I'm taking the dog again, Cincinnati +6. Yeah, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
I don't want to go against Mahomes.
Yeah.
But I feel they need this W. Baltimore is the only team in the division that has a win. Cleveland is whatever. Pittsburgh has a win. Baltimore should get a win this week. Cincinnati needs to get a win.
It's interesting because I think you and I spoke about this because both teams require a win. Both teams need to validate that they're still a top tier team or at least trying to be a top tier team. And I think you and I kind of went back and forth about Joe Burrows and kind of where he plays when it comes to Cincinnati and when it comes to Mahomes and his impact in that. I tend to agree. I think Mahomes and the Chiefs will win.
Yes.
I just don't know if they're going to cover, right? And I think we see that time and time again. Like with after the Chiefs win, for instance, and cover in their previous games, Mahomes is 45-12 straight up.
Yeah.
Right. 32-24-1 against the spread in the following game. Especially when the spread is -7 or less.
Yes.
He's 22-13 against the spread.
Which means he just goes and just destroys the spread.
He does. So, that being said, though, Joe Burrow has been his kryptonite.
Yes.
Right? And this isn't the first time Joe Burrow is noted to play, and lose to Burrows, right? Mahomes has lost 25 total games in his career. Okay? Straight up.
Yeah.
Burrow, Josh Allen, and Brady are tied for the most wins against Mahomes with 3. So take that in for a second, right?
That's a good caliber. That's a good
matchup. Like Brady, obviously, retired, sure. Josh Allen still playing Buffalo, sure. Burrow is a name that shares that level of credential with Allen and Brady that have the tie for the most wins against Mahomes with 3. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, that speaks for itself, man.
It does. It does. It 100% does. Mahomes, and I think Mahomes will keep the game interesting. He's not going to let the team lose, I don't think. But I also historically think Burrows will make it close.
Oh, for sure.
For sure, right? And I mean, we'll also keep this in mind here real quick. This is week number 2.
Yes.
Week number 1, for those who were watching week 1, it was KC and Baltimore.
Opening game.
Baltimore, in the final seconds, actually had that touchdown. The foot was out of bounds.
Yes.
Right? I think someone was saying if he was maybe 1 or 2 shoe sizes smaller, it would have been a touchdown, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think the reality is a top tier caliber team like that can technically have tied it and argue it shifted the momentum and won the game potentially.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
I don't think that Joe Burrow and the Bengals have that level of necessarily caliber.
Okay.
Right? But with Jamar Chase coming back, having signed the bag.
No, he hasn't signed the bag.
Oh, he hasn't had the bag.
No, he said he stopped contract talks.
Oh, he stopped contract talks. So that means I do think historically, it's a historical piece that I think that the spread will be covered by the Bengals. I just think the Chiefs will win.
Okay.
Right? Now, that's me historically. That's my personal take. So I am personally also going to roll with, and I'm not betting, Mahomes, if you're listening, I'm not betting against you, sir. I have lost too many times betting against you. I'm not betting against you. Yeah. What I'm saying is I think you're going to win. I just don't think you're going to cover. All right? And that's my take on that. So with that, I too am taking Cincy at +6.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Yeah.
I really like it. All right, so +6 Cincy. We got 2 dogs coming out here.
Yeah.
Nice and hungry. Coming out to show off week 2.
That's it.
Nice juicy matchup with lots of popcorn. And then we have our last game of the week.
Yes.
Which is Sunday Night Football.
Sunday night primetime.
You got the Chicago Bears versus the Houston Texans.
Yes.
The spread here is -6.5 Houston.
Yeah.
Close to all the other games, Bears 6.
Mm-hmm.
So every team that we have here for games of the week are all favored by a touchdown.
Yes.
Should be winning by a touchdown. This is a big game. Houston should have been, has a lot of firepower.
They
should have killed Indy last week.
They should have. Oh my God.
But yes, it was a divisional game. Everyone was like, "Oh, Houston," and we were too. But there's also holes. There's also weaknesses in Houston. Yes, they revamped the offense.
Yeah.
Spent their money. But what about the defense?
Yeah.
Now you have Chicago on the other side, right? Who plays in the Windy City is going to come into Houston playing an indoor stadium with a rookie quarterback coming in. We have some veteran wide receivers that can play the game. They got a good running back too. I feel CJ Stroud needs to show up that he can still be that caliber quarterback.
Yep.
Aside from him being sacked a couple of times against Indy, not being able to finish off the game in a sense, being from start to finish, be in the lead.
Right.
Not to be able to be like, oh, I have the urgency to go score now. Be able to be like, hey, let me play my game and let's just score points and then enjoy fun football.
Just focus.
Exactly.
Just focus.
And people have said offense will win you games, defense will win you championships, right?
Yeah.
I think Houston has a really good offense, but then don't forget Chicago defense last week, what they did to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right? They were, down 17-0, and then all of a sudden their defense showed up. Chicago's offense has no touchdowns. Their defense has more touchdowns than their offense.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that stat before in the NFL? But then again, it's week 1. It's kind of obscured, but 6.5, Houston, primetime game. You have primetime players, young players who could be the next face of the franchise or face of the NFL, actually. I like Houston minus 6.5. I think Houston wins by a touchdown or more. I feel they come in. Chicago, Windy City, playing from the outside, coming to a dome. It's different atmosphere.
Yeah.
Houston played at Indy, which was in a dome. Are coming back to Houston, which is in a dome. I feel dome is favored here. Houston minus 6.5. Yeah, no dog Sunday night.
No dog Sundays.
No.
I think. You know what? Obviously, from last week, I do agree. Houston has a huge offensive arsenal. I think in week 1, week 2, week 3, we talked about this. It'll take some time to gel, right? I thought week 1 they won, and the fact that they're still gelling, they had won the game, albeit not by the cover spread that we had talked about. They won by 2, the cover was 3, and that was a result of a mixed extra point.
Yeah.
Right? So technically, we should have covered. I continue to believe that Houston's offensive arsenal will still overpower the Chicago defense. Now, Chicago has a solid defense, and to your point, last week, the Bears single-handedly won on the backs of their kicker and their defense.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. The 2 TDs that were scored was from a block punt and from a pick 6.
Yeah.
The rest of the 9 points came from 3 field goals. So I 100% don't discount their defense. I also do believe that Houston's offense is only going to get better.
Yes.
Right? Like, you have Stephon Diggs. You have, Nico Collins. You have Tank Dell. You have Joe Mixon. Like, you have CJ Stroud. Like, who are you actually going to focus on?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Like, who?
Yeah.
So I think there is a level where, yes, Chicago's defense is important. I think Chicago's defense is rock solid. I also think Chicago's defense will be spread. I also think they'll be learning a lot. And like you said, they're young players, young caliber. This is going to be one of their, initiation to NFL. Like, welcome to the NFL. You can't just pick up on 1, 2, 3, 4 players. This is the entire team.
Yeah.
Right? And I think with that mindset, it's going to be very, very important. Caleb Williams, we saw, didn't have a great game, obviously. But CJ Stroud is catching his stride now.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's where we would... they're poised to obviously be a championship caliber team. I think this is going to be something that's very important for them to now continue this momentum as they continue going forward. Now, CJ Stroud has made 18 starts in his career, right? Still pretty new in his career. He is 6-3 against the spread as an underdog and 3-6 against the spread as a favorite. So yes, he is a favorite right now.
The numbers don't look.
Numbers don't look good. But what I will also add to this is that, in this sense right here, 18 starts in his NFL career.
And it's a small sample. It's
a small sample, exactly. It's super small. 18 starts. You put him on his rookie year, and he did as well as he did last year, and now he's into his second year. The reality of it is those numbers are meant to change, right? You can't hold a rookie with these numbers. Like, I don't think that's necessarily fair.
Yes.
Right? Now, he beat last year the Colts at the this is Stroud's second night primetime start for the Texans. The last time he was a primetime start, he beat the Colts last year, right? In Indy, and they were 1.5 point favorites.
Yes.
So he won by, it was 5 points. I do believe that it's going to be a cover.
Yes.
By Houston, right? And like we talked about, it's not like the Bears don't have a great, defense, right? And, they've obviously played in prime time. But for Houston, it's it's one of the worst comparison records. But like I said, small sample size. It's a new quarterback, new franchise team. You have wide receiver core. Like, things are changing for this team.
Yes.
And with that, yes, those numbers are not going to show up historically, obviously, but it will change. So, with all that being said, I believe Houston at home is going to cover at -6.5.
Yeah, they should get the job done.
Yes, I 100% agree. And before we move on, Ulner, I do have a wild card to throw at you.
Okay.
I do.
All right, what's your wild card? Talk to me, brother.
I've been thinking about it. Okay, I really have. And I know, folks, I called in game 2 of the game of the week that Mahomes, I think he's going to win. I just don't know if he's going to cover.
Yes.
I think Joe Burrow has his number, hence the +6. But there's a part of me tomorrow that thinks that in spite of the number, in spite of history, betting against Mahomes is just not something that I would otherwise do. And once again, I'm not betting against him.
Yes.
I still think he's going to win. I just think that tomorrow, especially now that we know Hollywood Brown is officially out, I think you're going to see Rashee Rice come into his own.
Yes.
And kind of start to dominate a little bit more. There's no chip on his shoulder looking the other way saying, hey, I have to share this ball with, Hollywood Brown. Do I have to play better? Like, he's not in his head anymore.
Yes.
Right? So I think with that, to your point about everybody playing a little bit better, just having a good time, having fun, and just kind of being a player.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that from the Kansas City. So I'm throwing this wild card at you, my brother. Like I said, Kansas City is going to win.
Yeah.
I'm switching that around.
Oh.
I'm calling Kansas City to cover the spread.
Oh, you're taking them to go -6.
I'm taking -6 for the game tomorrow.
Okay.
So I just thought I'd switch it on you.
All right. I like it. A little quick switcheroo
because something didn't sit right with me on that one.
All right.
Something didn't sit right. So that's our game of the weeks.
Yes.
For week 2, we'll recap here at the end of the episode. But as we do, especially with NFL, we are walking the lines of the fantasy world.
Yes.
So getting into our week 2 survivor pick. Ulner, I know we're 1-0 right now.
Yes.
We're trying to survive into second week and hopefully get into the third. Tell the folks who our week 2 second team that will hopefully take us and make us survive.
Yes.
To go into week 3.
All right. So the team we have for this week for Survivor is a team that lost in week 1. They had a tough loss. They had a chance.
They did.
They had a chance to send the game to overtime.
They did.
And even when they did score, they were leaning towards going for 2 to finish off the game. It was only a shoe size away. That should give it away. We have the Baltimore Ravens as our survivor pick to beat the Las Vegas Raiders in week 2. We feel Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Andrews and company, Zay Flowers, Harbaugh should come on and dominate.
Yes.
The Baltimore Ravens need to show the NFL, the world, that they are still a team that can match with any other NFL team there. That week 1 was just a little hiccup because they were gelling together with Derrick Henry just coming.
Yes.
Losing a lot of pieces on the O-line. But I feel second week they come out and they're gonna pound the rock.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're gonna run right through Vegas. They're gonna clean them right down the middle, smoke them, and just destroy them. Baltimore Ravens money line, straight up survivor pick, aim betting. This is what we do.
That's what it is. And like I said, there's no discrepancy here. This is a collective aim betting decision.
Yes.
Baltimore Ravens, week 2 survivor. We'll see our survivor gang in week 3 because we're winning this.
Oh,
this
hell
week.
yeah. We surviving.
That's it. We surviving. Which leads us to the next other half of the fantasy world, and that is the fantasy lineup for week 2. This is a cumulative of a lineup that we create for Sunday football, inclusive of Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. And we want to make sure we add the players that we think, based on our analysis, make actual sense for the highest projection points. And our goal to you is to get you over the century marker. So with our kind of positions for our lineup, we have 1 quarterback.
Yep.
We have 2 running backs.
Yep.
2 wide receivers.
Ooh.
1 tight end.
Yes.
1 defense, and 1 kicker.
Yes.
Now, we already know what one wide receiver was allotted to.
Was locked in, yeah.
It was locked in from Thursday Night Football. It was Tyreek Hill. So we'll do all the point tally in our next episode. But that's one position, obviously, that's been allocated to Tyreek Hill. But we have the rest of the positions here for you. So, to kick off QB,
yes.
I'm going to throw it to Ulner.
All right. Quarterback for football this week, week number 2.
Yes.
We have in our starting fantasy lineup is a Monday night quarterback in Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Reason why we have Jalen Hurts is we had Saquon go off 3 touchdowns.
So,
and now when you look at it, it kind of looks familiar like Buffalo.
Very.
Josh Allen went off, and they have both calibers of running.
Yeah.
You have Josh Allen, James Cook, who could get the football as well. You saw Josh Allen give up his time and made James Cook look a superstar just this past Thursday. I feel Jalen Hurts is poised to play more. He will start running more because people are going to be allocated and focused on Saquon, that he will be able to run the ball, score his touchdowns, the tush push, throw the football. Jalen Hurts, our quarterback for fantasy this week.
Done.
Locked in.
Locked in. So we anticipate that coming off a 2-2 game, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. I think to your point, he's going to rush more, be more efficient, and definitely be careful with the ball. So when he throws, he's throwing with purpose, closing those yardages out, closing those TDs out, minimizing interceptions. And obviously with their O-line, I think the sacks will be minimal.
Yeah. So now we go back into our running backs. We got 2 running backs this week.
Yep.
We got one. We have Mixon.
Of course.
We have Mixon Sunday night, where we both have the Houston Texans covering the spread.
Yep.
Mixon is poised, new running back, new system, but he's just a dog.
He is.
He just knows how to play the game the correct way, the right way. He comes in, he's going to pound Chicago defense, run it right through them, and I don't see Chicago defense being the same defense that were against Tennessee.
Yeah.
I feel Mixon finds the end zone maybe twice this game on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
I think Mixon goes for about almost 80 plus yards.
I think so.
A few catches for about 20 yards.
Yeah.
A couple of tutties, and he's in it for us. That's our first running back, Joe Mixon.
I agree. Like he himself last game went for 159 yards.
Damn, 159 yards.
159 yards. Just Joe Mixon himself. 30 rushes, 1 TD. Right? But what's impressive here is yes, he had some receptions. 0 fumbles.
Yeah.
0 fumbles. So he can take care of the ball. He's knows what he's doing. He's good at what he does. Lock in Mixon now.
There we go. And then our second running back, who do we have, my brother?
So for our second running back, we picked up Etienne.
Yes.
Honestly, he is a stellar.
He's a workhorse.
He is stellar of a player. There's no doubt about it. We've seen what he can do when it comes to rushing the ball, truth be told. Mm-hmm. And honestly, we saw what he did with Jacksonville and Miami. Yeah. Right? I know Jacksonville taking the loss. We know this. We know he started off a little slow with the fumble, sure. But he came back.
Yeah, he did.
He did. 12 carries, 44 yards, 1 touchdown in that game.
Uh-huh.
But you know what? One of the good things is that with the rushing yards, in terms of the defense, Cleveland is actually rated 13th.
Yes.
And I think Etienne's going to find those holes and it's going to open him up.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
I felt he's going to go in there, carve him up, and I feel like Cleveland has a lot of distraction on them.
Yep.
Even last year when Deshaun Watson was in the news and they were all over the media, their whole team's mindset wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right? And as of now, Deshaun Watson, as people know, has been charged again. He is a distraction to the team. People are afraid. People think that Winston should come in.
Yep.
But you can't also not forget, Winston was a quarterback. Yes, he's good. He loves his W's. But he's also a player that likes to throw interceptions.
Yes.
And as you saw in Jacksonville last week with Miami, they're able to get a couple of receptions. They know how to play nitty-gritty, play good defense. And I feel Etienne's going to come out, pound the rock, give Jacksonville the opportunity to move the chains.
Yes.
Find the end zone, and just carve up Cleveland defense. And probably Jacksonville might even get the W too.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mixon, Etienne, running backs, locked in.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add to that is this is Jacksonville's home opener after taking an L in Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire team, like you just said, I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville actually gets a W.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be on the backs of Etienne.
Yeah, 100%. And that leads to a wide receiver.
All right, the 2 wide receivers. We always talk about Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
He's locked. We know this. He had an underwhelming game for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But we'll keep it pushing. The next one, Ulner, who do we have as our second wide receiver?
We got Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really quiet game week 1.
Yes.
But this week they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who they played last year in the divisional playoffs.
Yes.
And they came on and beat them. I feel St. Brown is a wide receiver with a big body who's able to bounce back. And I feel he's such a superstar caliber player where week 1 was just for him to just gel in, get back onto his his senses, get back to his footwork.
Yes.
And I feel this week is a big game for them. It's within the conference.
Yep.
They played each other last year, and I feel he's gonna find the end zone. Jared Goff is gonna find him.
Yes.
He is their playmaker. During third down, you have Laporta as there too, but I feel Amon St. Brown is such a wide receiver where a third down you have to throw him the football.
You do.
Because there's so much trust in him.
There is.
And he's such a big body where he could just hug the football and take that penalty of a pass interference.
Easy.
Catch the ball, and so we feel like he'll be able to move the chains for the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
Should find the end zone, but I see about 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown.
I agree. I mean, he has a huge frame.
Right?
A huge frame. Like, I'm trusting him to catch it. And just for those remember from last week, to your point, Ulner, like, he had a very quiet game for someone of his caliber. He had 6 targets, 3 receptions, and caught for 13 yards. His over-under for this week in terms of receiving yards is 79.5. So everyone is anticipating a big, bounce back here.
Yes.
And we personally think and we agree that he's poised for that. Goff is going to be looking for that. And I think, Ulner said it best, it's going to be something that there's a lot of trust.
Yes.
And we're going to lock up Amon-Ra St. Brown
into
our last wide receiver slot. Which brings us to our tight end spot. So, with our tight end, we have someone who has been a top 5 tight end, maybe for the last few years in fantasy.
100%.
With a championship caliber team who had recently received some pretty devastating news, I'd argue.
Yeah. No CMC.
No CMC for this team.
3 weeks.
Which, that might have given it away, is George Kittle.
Yes.
As our tight end. Honestly, we saw miraculous things last week. We saw Mason fill into CMC's role without a beat, and he picked up. For those fantasy owners who picked him up, my goodness.
Yes.
You guys cashed out because he did very well, and with the news of CMC in the IR, Mason is poised for a bigger game. However, we also anticipate that the entire NFL will be trying to lock down Mason as they did CMC, and they're going to forget about Kittle. They're going to forget about Debo. They're going to forget about Ayuk. And so right now, if you're going to ask me who they're going to go after next, if not Mason and the Blitz, they're going to go after the wide receiver core, leaving Kittle wide open.
Wide open.
So Purdy, you got the quick, short, mid-range throws right there to the TDs, maybe the quick 11, 12 yards, yards after carry.
Even a tight end screen.
Easy.
Like a little play action, a little dump off, and let Kittle just
That's
run.
it. Because now people actually know Mason can run. He becomes actually a truly credible fake.
Yeah, a true decoy.
A true decoy.
Yeah.
You can actually do a true play action knowing full well that he may run it or he may actually throw it. You just don't know because Mason is now capable. He's opened that versatility for the San Francisco offense. And so I think Kittle's going to be stepping up into this role.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be an important game for them.
All right. So we have Kittle in our tight end position. Lock that in. And that leads us to our defense.
Yes.
Our defense, we got the Chargers.
Yes.
We got the LA Chargers playing the Carolina Panthers. We saw what the Carolina Panthers did last week against the Saints. They could not produce.
Nope.
For some reason, Young is not being the quarterback he thought he would be or should be as a number 1 pick. But we feel the Chargers and Harbaugh, their defense has always been there. I think Carolina won't have any position or poise to do anything.
No.
Chargers get the W in a nice win. Get a couple of picks off Young. Maybe a 1-2 fumble, sacks. Chargers defense, there's nothing really to say about it. It just speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Until Carolina proves something, we're going to go against them.
Exactly. You said it best. I mean, Bryce Young already dropped through 2 picks last game. Had 161 yards and was less than 50% in terms of his completion target. So it makes him inefficient as a quarterback and a liability when he throws.
Exactly.
I think the Chargers defense is going to eat that up.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our last position of Week 2 fantasy, and that is the kicker.
Yes.
Alder, let me throw it to you. Close this out here, brother.
All right, so this kicker we have here is going to be part of a game that's going to include a lot of popcorn. A lot of popcorn where you'll be eating either with stress or with excitement, a lot of different emotions. But we feel this game is going to be a field goal game, nitty gritty. Whoa, this is the one my brother switched on me. And we have this from the Cincinnati Bengals. We got McPherson. McPherson is there. He's going to kick. He has a big boot. And against Kansas City, yes, you need to score touchdowns. But if you're able to stop them with field goals or stop them on 4 drives, you need to get points. And McPherson is your guy who has always been money for you.
Yeah.
And he will always give you points. You'd rather take 3 than 0. McPherson is our kicker. Lock that in. And that would be our fantasy lineup for week number 2.
All right, so just a quick sum up here for our fantasy lineup. So our survivor, Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
Our fantasy lineup, we have our quarterback, Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Our 2 running backs, Mixon and Etienne.
Yes.
Our 2 wide receivers, Tyreek Hill from Thursday Night Football and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Our tight end, Kittle. Our defense, the Chargers. And our kicker, McPherson.
Yes, I like this fantasy lineup.
This one's looking good. I'm confident about this one.
I think this will pass the century mark.
Yeah, 100%. I think so too.
With only Hill giving us how many points? 6 points.
6 points.
So we're gonna need about another 90 points, 94 points to come out from everyone else.
I think so.
I think so.
I think everyone has got to put up their weight a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. A little weight. Maybe even have a little parlay of everyone scoring a touchdown that we have. That'd be pretty
That'd
cool.
be interesting. Maybe even the defense adding one there too.
Yeah, maybe throw it in there. Why not?
Yes, which leads us to our free trending bet, which we like to do here at AIM Sports for our Anytime TD, which has good odds, good enough to maybe capitalize, but also is a relatively low risk in our opinion.
Yes.
So, Ulner, based on some of the things that we're seeing in the sports books that we use, what is the leading Anytime TD that we're recommending here at AIM Sports for Week 2?
So for AIM Sports on Week 2, we feel that this running back is poised to have a big game, carve a defense that showed out as a really good defense. This game is happening on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. We got Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans. We got Mixon, who's a big boy, who Ershad mentioned earlier has been carrying the rock properly, hasn't been fumbling the football, and Houston has been giving him the opportunity to just pound the rock, run, and make plays. Joe Mixon at 1.72 times your money for an anytime touchdown score is AIM Betting's trending bet of the week.
That's perfect. You heard it here first.
Yes.
And, they're giving him the rock. Like you said, 30 rushes, they're not stopping him from carrying it.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to lead behind him as the veteran that he is, and they trust him with it.
Yeah, they trust him a lot with it. So
it makes sense.
Yeah, we like that bet over here. Joe Mixon, lock it in, along with our fantasy lineup and our game of the weeks.
Perfect. And I think just to recap, we already talked about fantasy lineup. We talked about our trending bet. We talked about our survivor. And to close out our game of the week recaps,
yes,
we had our first game at New Orleans at Dallas.
Yep.
With the odds being Dallas -6. We are both, Ulner and I, both locking in New Orleans +6.
Yes.
With respect to our second game of the week, Cincinnati at Kansas City, with Vegas putting Kansas City as a favorite with -6. Ulner is calling +6 Cincinnati, whereas I'm calling Kansas City -6.
All right.
So that's the discrepancy so far. And for our last game of the week, we have the Chicago Bears at Houston Texans. Vegas has Houston at -6.5 as a favorite, and we're both calling -6.5 as the favorite. So it's going to be a big bounce back week for the both of us.
Yes.
We called the same games last week. We were 0-3. This week, we have 3 big primetime games. We figure we go redemption week is huge. And 2 games of which are the exact same call.
Yep.
1 game is a little different. Tune in to next episode. And, of course, it's Sunday Night Football to see exactly how we play out.
All right. So, from AIM Betting Sports, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for hearing us out. We hope we make your sports betting accountable. Hope we make you money. But bet responsibly. Bet what you can. Listen to us. Fade us. Just enjoy life and enjoy football. From AIM Betting, see you guys next week. We're out.
Peace.